Wolfgang Puck was hiding something from his celebrity friends. By 55, the famous chef had a serious problem. His weight was out of control. He had access to the best surgeons in Beverly Hills. Every Hollywood star was getting work done. But Puck chose a different path. Something so simple yet so powerful that changed his entire life. He lost over 20 pounds without a single procedure. His energy skyrocketed. His creativity exploded. Here's what really happened. Wolfgang Puck was born on July 8, 1949, in a small Austrian town called Sveit, Inland. His birth name was Wolfgang Johannes Topschig. His mother Maria worked as a pastry chef and played a big part in shaping his future. His biological father was a coal miner. After his parents separated, his mother remarried, and Wolfgang took the last name of his stepfather, Isef Puck. But Isef was not kind. He was violent, cruel, and constantly told Wolfgang he would never succeed. Their home didn't have running water or a proper bathroom. Winters were especially hard. Meals were often just potatoes, rice, or plain noodles. That struggle planted the thought in Wolfgang's mind that he needed to escape. He had to find a life beyond poverty and fear. As a child, Wolfgang lived under constant criticism. His stepfather called him lazy and useless almost every day. He shouted at him for hours and made him feel worthless. That kind of abuse wasn't just physical. It crushed Wolfgang's confidence. He grew up believing that failure was all he could expect. But somehow deep down he refused to let that become true. That same pain would later drive him to prove everyone wrong. Years later he would speak about how close he came to breaking under the pressure. But instead he used that pain as fuel. The one place where he felt safe was the kitchen. His mother let him help her bake cakes and prepare meals. It was the only room in the house where he felt protected. His stepfather had no interest in cooking, so Wolfgang could be himself in there. He picked vegetables from their garden and helped turn them into meals. The kitchen became a world of peace and purpose. By the time he was 14, cooking wasn't just something he liked. It was his way out. At 14, he left school and tried working in construction. It didn't last. His mother arranged for him to start an apprenticeship at a hotel kitchen in the town of Villa. But just 3 days into the job, the chef fired him and said he was useless. Those words echoed everything his stepfather ever said. That night, Wolfgang wandered alone to a nearby bridge. He looked down into the river and thought about ending his life. He believed no one would miss him, but somehow he didn't jump. The next morning, instead of quitting, he went back to the hotel and begged for another chance. The staff were moved by how desperate he was. They hid him in the cellar and let him peel vegetables so the head chef wouldn't see him. For weeks he worked silently in that dark basement just to avoid going home and proving his stepfather right. Eventually the manager found out and sent him to train at a different hotel. That decision changed everything. Wolfgang finished his apprenticeship and started rising. What began as an act of survival turned into a career, but his early years were still harsh. He worked long hours for almost no money. He slept in cellars and lived in shadows just to avoid being sent home. For many weeks, he barely saw sunlight. The work was exhausting and no one praised him. But he kept showing up. He couldn't bear the thought of returning to the life he came from. That fear kept him going. He said the kitchen saved his life not because it was easy, but because it gave him a reason to fight. His journey didn't stop in Austria. He moved on to France, where he trained under legendary chefs. L'Hosto de Beaumanoir, a Michelin 3-star restaurant in Provence. He worked with Raymond Twilier. Then came stints at Maxim's in Paris and the Hotel Dieu in Monaco. These were some of the hardest, most demanding kitchens in the world. Mistakes were not tolerated. The shifts were long and punishing. But Wolfgang soaked it all in. He learned classic French cuisine, inside and out. Every plate, every sauce, every detail had to be perfect. That pressure turned him into a world-class chef. By the time he moved to the United States at 24, he carried with him a rare set of skills and experience that very few chefs had. But even then, he was still afraid. Every time he opened a restaurant or tried something new, he worried. He feared failure in a way that never fully went away. Even after becoming successful, he would wonder if customers would show up, if critics would like the food, or if everything would fall apart. But instead of letting that fear stop him, he used it made him work harder, think deeper, and push further. In 1973, Wolfgang Puck arrived in Indianapolis at the age of 24. He didn't speak English, didn't understand American laws, and didn't know a single person. Every police siren made him panic. He worried he'd be deported at any moment. The winters felt brutal, and the food made him long for the flavors of home. He was scared, cold, and deeply homesick. But instead of giving up, he worked harder. He later said the fear pushed him to be twice as good in the kitchen. That fear was the first ingredient in what would become a legendary career. He spent 2 years at Lauer, the top restaurant in Indianapolis. Even there, he wasn't taken seriously at first. Some saw him as just another European cook. But he stayed late. He learned fast. And when he moved to Los Angeles in 1975, everything changed. He joined a small restaurant called May Maison. For 6 months, nobody paid him much attention. Then one night, a Hollywood producer sent back his dish. Puck decided to take a chance and made something new on the spot. The producer was amazed. Word spread. Suddenly, stars like Orson Welles and Joan Collins were calling for reservations. Within a year, Puck had gone from the kid from nowhere to the name everyone in Hollywood wanted to know. Even as he rose, the fear never fully left him. He had nightmares about